Session after lunch is always difficult to concentrate, but we have two excellent personalities with us. We'll see that you are enthralled throughout the session. Maria Wirth comes from Germany, and Lucia Guest comes from England. Her name is a misnomer. She is not a guest to India. She is more Indian, she is more Hindu than most of us. Maria was going from Germany to Australia. She made a mistake of a small stopover for a short time, but it became a lifetime. She did not go to Australia at all. She stayed here. 39 years she has stayed in India. This is what India calling is. Many of us may have many relatives and friends who say that I have stayed 30 years, 39 years in America, in Australia, in Germany. But there lies a world beyond materialism, and that is where Maria has come to explore something that the West cannot offer. Both of them were born in Christian families. They had initial Christian background of learning, schools, convents, etc. But they found that there is something more to life than what their religion could give them. And they have learnt it the hard way, the Hinduism. We take it for granted that we are Hindus, we know everything. There are many things that we don't know, but they know, and therefore they have switched over. We'd like to know these things from them. So, Maria, how is it that you never reached Australia? I'm coming from Australia, for your information. For 36 years, I've been posted as RSS Pracharak outside India. Only last year I have come back to Bharat. My headquarters have been Hong Kong, then Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, then last it was Sydney, Australia. I have traveled to some 45 countries in these 36 years. I have been to Germany, I have been to your UK also. But we want to know, you were to go to all the way to Australia and you stopped over in India, and then you forgot Australia. There's one more thing, she has a message for you. Never visit Kumbh Mela, because that is where her transformation took place. In Hindi movies, you see that in the first scene, they will show that a family goes to Kumbh Mela and all the siblings, brothers and sisters, they get lost. And towards the end of the movie, they will all come back with a song or something like that. But in her case, she went to Kumbh Mela, she did not lose her siblings, she lost herself in the color, in the sound, in the voice, in the culture, in the variety that a Kumbh Mela offers. She found the eternal beauty of India. We go and say, oh, so much of noise, so much of dust, so much of cleanlinessness, but she saw something beyond that, and that changed her life, and she has a message for all of us. So I would ask Maria to explain what changes that happened in her visit to India. Then you can also tell us what happened to you when you came to India. Next. By the way, she's an engineer. She has done metallurgy. So both of them are highly qualified in the normal sense, but overqualified in the spiritual sense that compared to us. Please.
When I came to India on a stopover, actually I had to be persuaded to come to India, because I had been in India already in 1974 and I didn't like it. My mother even tells me that when I came back, I said, never again India. And this was a time when India was very much in the West. The Beatles had been with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Suddenly there would be shops where you can buy Indian cloths and patchouli, and people would use henna. So at that time, India was there, but when I came to India, I was here 6 weeks and I didn't understand a thing. One college principal, he told me, Hinduism is a very primitive religion, nature religion. They worship all kinds of things. I did not know better. So when I came second time, a friend convinced me to come to wildlife sanctuaries. But then, in Kanyakumari, I went to Swami Vivekananda's place, memorial, and there I bought 2 books, Jnana Yoga and Raja Yoga. And when I read Jnana Yoga, it was like, my God, this is really, that is the truth. I was always in search of truth. I had left Christianity already as a teenager. I couldn't believe in this God who is sitting somewhere and watching us. And I was very much reflecting. I wanted to know the truth. And when I read Swami Vivekananda's book, it was like, wow, that's it. But I don't think I would have stayed on in India only because of this book. But then I landed up at the Kumbh Mela by chance. I had no idea what is Kumbh Mela. A photographer in Delhi said, go to Hatwa, there's a big festival. I wanted to see the Himalaya. He said, go via Hatwa, there's a big festival. I had no booking, nothing. I landed up there full, and I mean, that's first I met Devaraha Baba. And it was so amazing, I really can say I loved him. When I thought tomorrow morning I go again for darshan, it was like my heart jumping as if I was in love, which was inexplicable because he was such an old man. And then I met Anandamai Ma. And around Anandamai Ma, I read, there were some booklets in English, and then suddenly what Swami Vivekananda said about this oneness of all, she made it very, very livable. She brought bhakti in. She said, you have to make Bhagwan your closest friend. He is always with you. He is everywhere. And this example of the ocean and we are the waves of Swami Vivekananda, it made so much sense that we are really, the truth is Brahman, and our essence is one with it. And I have to do sadhana to get close to it.
Lucia guest. First of all, she's not a guest. She's more Indian. And you know what is the meaning of Lucia? Lucia means shining, luminosity, all this. Our Upanishad says, Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya. She sheds luminosity wherever she goes. She has studied Sanskrit, she has studied Panini's Ashtadhyaya, securing a gold medal. I think that calls for a round of applause. She knows Vedas, she knows yoga. Please tell us your experience.
Really, my journey to reach India started in childhood. It wasn't, the intention was to seek out what this infinite energy behind the universe was. And when I was just 13 years old, I was studying in a Catholic boarding school, and we were supposed to be confirmed, which means that you will for life be a Catholic Christian. We used to have these classes every week, telling us what the rules were and how you would live as a Christian. And one week they told us that if we didn't go to church on Sunday, we would be committing a sin. So I asked, if going to church on, not going to church on Sunday is a sin, what about if you go on Tuesday because you couldn't go on Sunday? And they said, oh no, that's still a sin. So then I jumped out of my chair and I started pointing my finger at the nuns, quite angry that these are man-made rules. They can't possibly be God's rules, that he would make a rule like this. So from that moment...
What was your age at that time?
13.
13, okay. Both of them in their teens made a decision to come to Hinduism.
And so from that stage onwards, I was searching for that thing that would give me that sense of completeness in life. And every time I climbed a mountain, I would see that there was another mountain. Until when I was an investment banker in New York and London, there came a point of time that I realized that my hands were full in terms of money and social standing, but I was empty. And I wanted to know what was that thing that could make me feel fulfilled. And a day came that I had like a mantra chanting in my mind, but I didn't know, saying, who am I? And why am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do with my life? I could see no meaning anymore in accumulating money in the way that I was. And so I landed in a meditation group. I had no idea whether they were Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, Jews. I had no idea who they were. But I had an experience that night that changed my life forever. For the first time, I felt complete. I knew that that path was my way. And it took several weeks to realize that they were Hindus, or rather Sanatana Dharma followers. And after about a year, Guruji said I should come to India to do a sadhana retreat for 40 days. He said, how long will you come for? I said, I'll get a year's ticket and a year's visa, and then we'll see. My first night I arrived alone at Delhi airport. I went by the public bus to Haridwar, and Guruji said, so how long will you stay? I knew no one in India at all. I just had met Guruji very briefly. And I said, I'll stay 10 years, then we'll see. That was 20 years ago.
20 years ago. She has been here on 1-year visa for 20 years. She is here for 40 years on 1-year visa. Every time she needs an extension. On the Twitter, there is a discussion going on whether Atish should get an Indian citizenship, etc. Now, at the end of the session, please let me know whether these two people deserve a citizenship of India. Every time they have to break, they have to go out and then come back. Only 1-year visa is given to them. With this, they have managed 40 years and 20 years. There is another side to this India calling. You know, Pope came here in the year 2000. He said, in this 3rd millennium, we want to plant cross across Asia and we'll start from India. So for him, India calling has another meaning. Does it have anything to, how do you feel about that? The Pope wants to plant cross here in India.
I feel that Indians are not aware, Hindus are not aware what Christianity and also Islam are really about. I mean, it is my mother passed away last August, so I went to the priest to have a funeral service arranged. And so the priest said to me, oh, you live in India. A friend of mine just went to India. So I said, I hope not for conversion. And he said, of course for conversion. It's our duty. So I feel we don't realize this. Sometimes this debate is Mother Teresa, she is converting. Of course she is converting. If she doesn't want you to let you go to hell, then she would be brutal or cruel if she doesn't believe it. So now I feel Hindus need to know this, that the food soldiers may be even genuine. They may even not know better. Some of the missionaries, like he will really think, I remember when I was in primary school, I don't know, I remember it, the missionary came from India and he was making us pray for the poor, hungry, heathen children of India so that they also hear of dear Jesus and are saved like us. Now, I really request you, please be aware of this. And they won't tell you into the face. They will, you must notice, no? Now, so many people in the lower class, they convert. Even in Dehradun, there was one woman, she was already Christian, the domestic help of a friend of mine. And she said she wanted her child to put into the school. And this school people, they told her she should convert to another denomination of Christianity. We have to see it.
Convert within their denominations also.
We have to see it, and what is happening, I also feel what Indians don't realize, once a conversion happens, Indian Christians and Indian Muslims, we keep saying, oh, they have the same culture, but they are more strongly indoctrinated. I have an example also for this. Because they have to be fortified against falling back. Once, even Pete Griffiths, he's very much celebrated in the West. He died in 1992. I was in his ashram several times. So he was very liberal to us foreigners, because he knows we foreigners, we appreciate Hindu Dharma or Buddhism. And then once I happened to listen to him when he was talking to Indian non-novices. I went straight ahead. Afterwards, I went to him and said, Father Pete, how can you say this? How can you? Then he said, I have to strengthen their faith so that they know where the border to Hinduism is. And I am so much concerned because we are unhappy in the West. Now in the West, we get out of Christianity. We can get out. For long we were not allowed to get out. When you were born in a Christian family, you had to die a Christian. I think in Spain, they can get out only in the 1970s. In Germany, we could get out in 1835 or 37, something. And ever since, people leaving. But I feel the powers that be, they don't want an enlightened being, and that's why they denigrate India so badly. They don't want people to know about Hindu Dharma, because this empowers you when you know that Bhagavan is within me. That means I have Bhagavan with me. No? I mean infinite intelligence ultimately. And this, I think, I tell a story, not a story, but in Germany we have a saying. The king tells the Pope, you keep them stupid, I keep them poor. So,
she has written a book called
Thank You, India.
Thank You, India. I think we must say thank you, Maria. Now coming to the same question, that Pope has said that we want to plant the cross across Asia, and we'll start from India. How it is being perceived in overseas countries, and how you felt about it?
The thing is that overseas there is basically a lack of knowledge about what Hindu Dharma is and what India is. And when I say India, I actually would rather use the word Bharat, because Bharat is not a geographical limited word. Bharat means Bhayam Rati iti Bharatam, Prakashena Yuktaha iti Bharatam, that which is joined by light, light meaning knowledge.
And her name also is Lucia. That is, Lucy is luminescent.
And so there's so little understanding about what this culture and this philosophy is. Even the word philosophy means a lover of truth. And I remember when I was at school, at boarding school, we weren't even told that there was a philosophy called Hinduism. And when I say Hinduism, I also want to clarify that it's not a religion either, because it's hinsayaha duyate yasya hridayam itisa Hindu. That person who is far from violence, who hates violence, that person is a Hindu. And this cultural misunderstanding is the key to why there is this terrible misunderstanding in the West, and this idea that they can come in and change these the lives of these heathen people for the better, because actually every single person in the world, if they are to be a spiritual person, by nature is a Hindu. If they are a spiritual person, if they love the supreme consciousness, if they love light and knowledge, they are by their very nature a Hindu. And I think this is what scares these limited religions. And the only way there are two things that need to be done that are rooted in education. One, education in the West about what this is, and second, education here too, for people themselves to understand what they are.
That's true. In terms of spiritualism, India is the only billionaire, and nowadays you can say trillionaire in the world. In terms of dollars, America may be a trillionaire, and India is trying to reach $5 trillion. But in terms of spiritualism, only India is the trillionaire or billionaire. And these people have understood that more than us. And a lot of youngsters are sitting here. Do you have any message for them, having traveled across India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari for the last 40 years? So how do you address the youth of India?
Actually, when I came to India, I thought that every Indian, of course, knows about his great tradition. They would know what the Upanishad says, they would know about the history, about Ram, about Krishna, even like the criteria for truth, which are in the Tripura Rahasya, or what even Ramana Maharishi or Sri Aurobindo. I thought it would be common knowledge in India. And for 20 years, I was away from any news. I was just in ashrams. I was with gurus also. And then I came, about 20 years ago, I came into a normal surrounding. And then for the first time, I met what you call now secular people, so-called seculars. And I was shocked. They were denigrating Hindu, people with Hindu names. They were denigrating Hindu Dharma and had not even read the Bhagavad Gita. They did not know anything, but they had very strong view. And so I realized that is lacking because education system, which is very serious, and even the parents of these youth are already secular often, and they don't realize what great treasure it is. I mean, just look at this. Christianity and Islam, they say God is separate. You must never say that you are one with God. In Christianity, only Jesus can say it. Normal people say it. Yeah, one life, and then I go eternally to hell or heaven. Only one life, and then so disadvantaged life. So it's just why everybody to be Christian? Why doesn't he let everybody be born in a Christian family? How is he so unfair to make it so Hindus do about him? Some missionary has to. It just doesn't make sense also. So you should be proud, know, read a little, read Bhagavad Gita, start also with asking. Supreme intelligence, it is hearing it. And if there's genuine aspiration, I am really convinced the help is coming. And then you will be guided also to some information. You don't even have to read many books or so, but you will try to be, Ananda Ma used to say, try to be 24 hours a day in his presence. He is a best friend. He will never leave you. And it's really true. I mean, for me, I really tried to, I was young when I came, so I thought, how can I love something which doesn't have eyes, which you cannot touch? And I really said, please help me, let me love you. So it's not always easy. I mean, it's not always that you feel so good, but it gives meaning to life, and it is the only thing worthwhile. I can tell you, Western lifestyle will not fulfill you.
Maria just now said that the youth in India should also take interest in spiritualism and in Bhagavad Gita. There is a dilemma. See, I am after career, I am after job, I am after my education. How can I find time for? I think spiritualism should come to me only after the age of 60. How do you answer this?
Well, the first thing is to realize why people are not going towards spiritualism or going towards spiritualism. The first thing is that no matter who you are, anywhere in the world, everybody wants peace and happiness. That's the bottom line. The problem has come in education that money has been understood to be the means of attaining peace and happiness. Sukh ki sadhan hai. But the thing is, that is only a temporary thing, and it can only be a temporary thing. But with the spiritual life, it doesn't need a parcel of you. You are an energy form. If you are using mantra, for example, we all know the word Om. Om in the Samveda has told us that it is an Udgita Shabd, means that it's a naturally uplifting word. You don't need to have compartmentalized life that this is spiritual and this is my career. But if you have mantra, for instance, like Om, it's like learning to ride a bicycle. When you're learning to ride a bicycle, extreme concentration, it's really difficult. But by the time you're 10, and by the time you're 15, you're doing on a motorbike, chatting to your friends, looking like this, and driving the motorbike. It's the same with a mantra. Mantra means mananat trayatiti mantra, that thing that protects you from the cogitations of the That is the secret to developing your inner life, going towards who you are, integrating yourself with your real self, so that you can know who you are. Because when you know that, you actually will be satisfied in life always, no matter what, because you will actually understand what's happening outside, what is happening in the outer world, and why people are like the way they are, because actually your intellect is like a colorless crystal. And your energy is a distinct energy, a mixture of Rajaguna, Tamguna, and Satguna. If you imagine that energy is like some energy of individual, when they this suffering in the world, can't that it is spiritual practice, whatever it is, without neglecting your worldly duties. You get back to that colorless crystal stage. You will first of all understand as it is. And so the key is spiritual life, perhaps with a mantra or with yoga. And yoga word of like stable wisdom. And when you have that, you will always be peaceful and happy in life. Ways to climb that mountain, Jnana Yoga is Bhakti Yoga, whatever it is. But find your individual way of thinking to get back to yourself, get back to your source, so that you can feel that completeness.
Arthur Schopenhauer lived in the 18th and 19th century. He was from Germany. He was among the earliest Europeans who took Hinduism to the West. So one of his famous quotations is, Upanishad is the solace of my life, and in my death also, Upanishad will remain the solace of my death. Such a strong statement, and from there onwards, Germany became spreading Sanskrit, yoga, spreading Gita, spreading Upanishads all over. Germany had day video program for long before it started in India. I think we should give a clap for Germany's contribution to popularizing Hinduism. Now I will audience, how many of you have seen the video where 2, 3, 4, quite a few number of people. But there are many people, perhaps they have not seen. Please go to the YouTube and just see Abu Dhabi Sultan Jai Siyaram. There's one more thing happening right in front of our eyes, right across the globe. The wife of Sultan, that is the Begum, she is carrying Ramayana on her head and walking towards the podium. How many of you have seen that also? Fantastic. So things are changing. A lot of changes taking place. If you go to Smith, in Georgia, the father of the church Pastor Eddie Smith. Congregations every Sunday, he tells the youth, Namaste. When they say Namaste, he's not happy. He says, say loudly, Namaste. He shouts Namaste. Then he says, N-A-M-A-S-T-E, Namaste. And what does Namaste mean? Namaste means the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. And then he says, two Americans meet, they just say hi. And what is there in that word hi? No meaning. And he takes out a gun and shoots them. Because nobody has told that there is a divinity in me and there is a divinity within you. And he says, unless the whole of Hinduism outside India than here. Now, I want to ask both of you, what changes you have seen in India, maybe in 40 years, maybe in 20 years, which is a reflection of a new Bharat today, a reflection of what is going to happen tomorrow, some positive changes. Please.
I would like to come also what you earlier said, but one positive change is certainly in the last 10 years that people now are more proud. That there are many more people who say, I am a Hindu, and stand by it. That is so important. And when you said that outsiders, what is happening in Saudi Arabia now, that is a very good developments opening up. And also I think in Iran, most people, if they have a choice, would get out of Islam. I asked once a taxi driver in Germany, he said, what about people, do they believe in Islam in Iran? He said 90% don't. And I said, 90% don't? Is it only your view or your circle? He said, my circle. And I said, but then you should be able to get out of it. He said, the 10% are so oppressive. So I feel what is happening now, I am not so positive as you seemed, because Europe is going. If Europe is not standing up, I feel it is really already Islamic. Those who try to resist Islamization, they are branded as Nazis, they are branded as right-wing. Like in India, it's a worldwide phenomenon. And the point is that India needs to be aware that only India. West won't help because West is Christian. Muslim countries won't help. Africa is gone, Australia is gone. Only in Asia, there are still some countries who have not been swallowed up by these two great religions. And India must never be swallowed up by them, because that would be the end for humanity. So I feel India has a great responsibility also for, when we talk about Jagat Guru, we talk about Purva Paksha, but we have to do Purva Paksha. We have to know that those, I'm very clear about this, these religions, they are not compatible with Hindu Dharma. They both claim, we alone are true, you have to disappear. And if I suggest, please, you say, these two have to disappear, and you come back to common sense, then they say, shh, don't say this, that is, we are not like them, and this is, we have to consider it at least, because many people, I think also many Muslims, I had a very, very dear Muslim friend, I wrote about it in my book also, he passed away, and many are not happy. And when I look at Indian children, they are so, I really envy them that they don't have this fear of eternal hell. And you have the best culture in the world, and you have to stand up for it. And please, I mean, I feel it's serious, because the whole world is after you. Even atheists are after you. So, and you have plenty of atheists also in the leftists, so, sorry.
That's what Annie Besant also said, that if Hinduism diminishes in Bharat, then spiritualism will diminish in the whole world.
Yeah.
So India has to become spiritually strong so that the message goes to the world. So what changes did you see in the last 20 years that you have been here on a one-year visa basis?
Well, initially it was very hard for me to get a visa to be in India. Several times my visa was stopped or refused. One time I was told, Sanskrit? What's Sanskrit? We don't need Sanskrit. Another time I was told, we have plenty of sadhus. Refused. We don't need any more sadhus. The last time that I had difficulty with my visa, I was actually taken into a room full of clerks where I was told by the man that he got me to stand up and everyone saw. He said, I'm giving her a one-year visa. And he wrote on my papers, 1 year only, not to be extended, not to be renewed. But he also said, but mark my words, this girl's body will go in the Ganga, I know it. But I am not giving her permission to stay in India. One of the things that I've heard a lot in conferences over the last few years is that we want to make Bharat Vishwa Guru. You are Vishwa Guru. You are the only culture, the only philosophy that can solve the problems of the world, of both people as individuals and as a collective, as collective nations. You are the only culture that has the solutions for how it should be lived happily. No one else in the world has this depth of skill to offer any in the world. Seen in the last 10 years for me to get my visa these, but I've also changed the approach of people on the street. In the beginning, one of the things was that knowledge was extremely important. Everybody that I met after asking my name would ask, what is your education? I set up an education project with other people about 10 years ago, but really it started flourishing in the last 7 years. But initially, I was not able to say that we have a Gurukul. Yeah. In fact, I couldn't even. I underprivileged children, and we teach Sanskrit and yoga. And I would say it very quietly so that they wouldn't hear it, because I found that average people weren't supporting such a project. But I'm very, very happy to say that you are supporting your culture now openly, that I did not see 10, 20 years ago. People would have to whisper, and you know it yourselves. But free to be Hindus. And when I say Hindus, I mean Sanatan Dharma, because greater than all of you to stand up for it. The joy.
Stand up for this 20th century towards great a new science coming up, that was quantum physics. And it started with Schrodinger, then Niels Bohr, then you had Fritza Capra, Heisenberg, etc. All of them, whenever they speak on quantum physics, will quote from the Vedas, will quote from Sanskrit. They will explain what is Maya, etc. Great philosophies helped them to explain quantum to their students. That shows how rich our Sanskrit language is. With the latest science also, it can blend itself and give a new meaning to them. Similarly, you have a case came up in Moscow that the book Bhagavad Gita should be banned. So the judge book and say, very interesting thing happened. In the year 1971, the Prime Minister of Turkey He wrote a letter to Prime Minister of India, that was Indira Gandhi, that we are banning Bhagavad Gita. Now, Indira Gandhi didn't know when Bhagavad Gita was accepted as a text in Turkey, and now why it is being banned. So he asked the embassy to go and find out. In Turkey, in the year 1971, they had a lot of clashes between the students and the military, and therefore they raided the hostels, university hostels, and whatever books they could not understand, they banned it. So they had banned Karl Marx communist books, along with it, book by Bhagavad Gita, because they could not understand what it is. Our ambassador went and explained to them, Bhagavad Gita is meaning of Bhagavad Gita. So the minister is at the bank. One student happened to get interest in Bhagavad Gita. In those days, in Turkey, most of the books were available only in German language. So he said, this Bhagavad Gita, which is in German language, I am going to translate it into Turkish language so that common Turkish people can also understand. One person bans it, he was a prime minister. Another young boy, he translates Bhagavad Gita of that country. Just imagine, one prime minister bans it and then says, Minister, we just tell everywhere. So he was traveling to Germany. I'm saying Germany because she's sitting here. So next to him, a German lady, an elderly lady, she was reading Hanuman Chalisa. This young boy coming from Indian University and bubbling with, he got some six-figure job, dollar job in Germany, so he was floating on the seventh heaven. And so he asked her, Madam, you are reading this. These are all obsolete, obscure ideas. Why are you reading this Ramayana? Then he said, no, Ramayana has a message for today's also, especially for youngsters like you. He said, I want to ask a question. Do you think that is it ever possible for to jump from? Then that German just thought for a minute and she said, okay, you have asked a very relevant question. When I go to heaven, I will ask Hanumanji, how did you jump from Bharat to Sri Lanka? The boy is not going to leave. He is very smart. He knows how to ask questions. He does not know how to answer. That is different.
The two ladies are saying that the world should refer to India. And I am saying, it is my experience, when we want to know something about India, we have to refer to these two ladies. I have done it. I was writing an article for a newspaper. It was on fake narratives on Hindutva and the facts. So whatever I wanted to write, I wrote, and some information I wanted. And Sister Maria has a blog.
Put a little closer.
Sister Maria has a blog. You must all read it, actually. So I was referring her blog. And there was a mention of church attacks in Mangaluru. She went and fought up to the Pope. All media is projecting about the Nirbhaya. She compared with England what is happening and India what is happening. There's a big countries and small countries, less people, more cases, big country, less cases. She had done that. So you must all read her blog. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste, sir, and namaste, ma'am. And my question is, being a citizen of other nation, to both of them, being a citizen of other nation, coming to Bharata and having a huge respect to Bharata, I think we the youngsters should learn a lot of things from you. But the question is, being a non-Indian, when you have so much of respect towards Bharata, do you think saying that Supreme Court has given an order saying that there is no need to stand up for the national anthem. Do you have any comment on that?
See, that is our problem. We don't stand for national anthem. How she can give a view on that?
No, my question is, when some people have an opinion that why we should stand up for the national anthem, it's like a mother, we are giving respect to the mothers.
Actually, I sometimes I feel I am fiercely Hindu nationalistic, almost, because I feel India for the world.
Correct.
It's not only for it's for the world, it's for humanity. Because I can see so clearly that these two religions, it's only 2,000 years ago, they have spoiled so much. And it's coming out now. Social media is doing a great service. Are now more aware that they are maybe not that what they pretend to be, but they have so much power that we have to be careful, and that India has to be strong first as a nation, Bharat. And I get goosebumps when I hear the national anthem, and I want India to be a Hindu Rashtra and Jagat Guru.
We thank our delegates for this beautiful session. Can we please have a huge round of applause for them? ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯ ಮಾಜಿ ಸಿಂಡಿಕೇಟ್ ಸದಸ್ಯ ರವಿಚಂದ್ರ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಅತಿಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ನೆನಪಿನ ಕಾಣಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನೀಡಿ ಗೌರವಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ವಿನಂತಿಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. Now I request Mr. Ravichandra to present our delegates with the memento.
Wow. How nice. Dhanyavad.
Thank you.
Thank you.